Hey there, second grade meteorologist. My name is Miss Chapple, and today I'm going to teach you how you can make your very own windsock. What is a windsock, Miss Chapple? Well, I'll tell you. A windsock is a weather tool used to show which way the wind is blowing and how strong the wind is blowing. So this is what it looks like, and you might have seen something very similar maybe in your own garden. So usually it's made bright and colorful, and then it has ribbons or something hanging from the bottom of it. And this is the important part. This is the part that shows which way the wind is blowing and how fast it is blowing. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is gather up all of your materials. Here are some of the materials you're going to need. And I've got almost everything from the Dollar Tree, so this is actually a very inexpensive project to do. First, you are going to need construction paper. Construction paper is what you're going to be using to actually construct the top part of your windsock. This one, again, like I said, I got from the Dollar Tree. It comes with 36 pieces of paper in all sorts of different colors. So this is a very, very nice set of construction paper. The next thing you're going to need are streamers or tissue paper. So I chose streamers because streamers are already in long, thin rectangles, which is what you're going to need to be the bottom part of the windsock. You can use tissue paper, but just be aware you're going to have to cut the tissue paper into long, thin strips. But tissue papers allow you to be a little bit more colorful. When you buy streamers, it only comes in one color. Now, you can buy more than one streamer, of course, but if you're trying to make sure that you're spending just a little bit of money, then, be aware you're only going to have one color to use. You're going to want something to decorate with. I bought markers. You can use crayons. You can use colored pencils, whatever you would like to use. But you're going to want something in order to decorate with. Next, again, this is an optional piece here for decoration purposes, but I bought some googly eyes because I knew I wanted to make mine into a ladybug, so I wanted to buy some googly eyes. This is completely optional. You can draw your own eyes if you're making a critter, or it doesn't have to be a critter. It could be anything you want it to be. It's up to you and your creativity. So this is completely optional. You're going to want ribbon or yarn or something to act as your handle. So looking at my finished product here, you can see I have a handle here for my windsock. So you can use yarn. Someone in the house might already have this laying around. You don't have to buy anything, but you're going to want something to be a handle. You can even use pipe cleaners. It all depends on what you want to use. You're going to need scissors and a hole puncher. These items are necessary in order to actually put it together. You might have these at home. I did not buy these from Dollar Tree. I just had them at home. So check with an adult at home. You might already have these things. And then last but certainly not the least, you need glue. So I have craft glue here. However, I strongly encourage you to use glue sticks. Glue sticks are going to be much easier for you to use. When I made mine, I actually made a little bit of a mess using this, and you might actually get to see that while I'm making a new one. So I strongly encourage that you use a glue stick instead. All right, friends, go ahead and gather up all your items, and let's get started. Okay, step one, choose the color construction paper you want to use. So let's see what I've got here. I can make another ladybug one. Or maybe I want to make a bee. You know what? I think I want to make a bee this time. So I'm going to grab yellow instead of red. We're going to make a honeybee windsock. All right. So once you have chosen the color you want to use, you are going to want to cut your construction paper in half the long way. So remember, friends, that half means 2 equal pieces. So here's a little tip. Take your paper and fold it corner to corner. You can see me doing that right here. And that way you know that you have 2 equal pieces. So corner to corner. Be very careful. Make sure you're doing it long ways. You don't want to put it in half like a book or a greeting card. Make sure you are folding it in half and cutting it in half long ways. So you're going to want to grab your scissors and then you're going to cut along the fold if you made a fold. If not, just cut straight down the middle. Like I said, I strongly encourage you to use a fold. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut. And you know what, friends? If it's not perfect, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. But you want to try to get it as close to a half as possible. You're going to end up with 2 pieces of paper because, again, we cut it in half, 2 equal pieces. So I'm going to keep one of these and put the other aside. And that is the first step. All right, so now that we have the main part of our windsock, now we want to decorate it. So to decorate it, you can grab your markers or crayons, colored pencils, whatever you chose, and you can go ahead and start drawing and coloring on it any way you wish. Now, I want to make it look like a honeybee. So I'm going to go ahead and make a head, similar to what I did with my ladybug one. So what I have here is a piece of black paper. I had already went ahead and cut it out for this. And here's a little tip, guys. If you take paper and you fold it, and then you cut on one part of it, as long as you're on the fold, when you cut it out, it's going to be perfectly symmetrical. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a marker to draw out what I want it to look like, and then I'm going to use that as my guide. So I want to have the head. So it's going to need to be a half circle. So I'm just going to do that. And then I want the antenna too. So I'm also going to draw a little antenna and like that. And I'm not worried about it looking sloppy there, guys. I'm just using that as my cutting guide here. So now I'm going to cut along what I just did. Start there, and then I'm going to cut around to the antenna. And again, guys, this is because I'm making a honeybee. You make it look however you want. It doesn't have to be a critter. It can be decorated with clouds and rainbows. I saw a student one time make a Pokemon character out of it. I think it was that yellow one, Pikachu, I think his name is. So that's what he did. He made it like Pikachu. That was really neat looking. Another student made a jellyfish. Really neat. Okay, so here's what I did. Now, because I did it along the fold, I can unfold it. And look, guys, it's perfectly symmetrical. Now, there's a little bit of a dip there. And you know what? I don't care. We're going to leave it. All right, so now I'm going to kind of place it toward the bottom middle, right there. Okay? That's where I'm going to put it. Now, bees have stripes. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put some stripes in. So I'm going to need my black marker for that. And just to protect the table, I'm going to put the other part of my black under here. That way I can kind of draw and be sloppy and not worry about accidentally drawing on the table. So boys and girls, you might want to have paper towels or something underneath your work so you don't accidentally draw and color on your tables at home. That would not be good, friends. So let's just kind of like that. And I'm just going to quickly color that in. All right, friends. I'll be back once I'm done making my stripe. All right, so I'm just going to go through here and with some finishing touches. There's a few spots here that are kind of see-through, so I'm just kind of quickly going over those spots with my marker. And, you know, it's just have fun with it, guys. It doesn't need to be perfect. By any means, mine's not going to be perfect, guys. So please don't feel frustrated if it's not perfect. The important thing is that you have fun and you do your best. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I think that's just fine. All right, the next thing I need to do is attach the head part that I made here. So I'm going to position this to be about in the middle toward the bottom. Now, you can, if you're making a critter, you can have made the head a complete circle. And in that case, if I did that, I would have put it like in the middle here. But I don't want to do that. I want it to kind of look like how I did with the ladybug. So I'm going to keep the head toward the bottom. All right, this is where my glue is going to come in, guys. And like I said, I highly encourage you guys use glue stick instead of the craft glue because craft glue can get a little bit messy. I have a paper towel ready because I might have to dab some of it away. So give it a good shake, and I'm going to put a couple little dab, dab, dab to make my bee look fab. Put a tiny bit on each part of the antenna there. And you're going to see it, some of the glue might seep out, and that's why the paper towel is really handy. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to lay it in the middle here. Press it down. I'm going to grab my paper towel while I'm doing this. Press it down, smooth it out. There we go. All right, so there's that part there. All right, so you can see I used my paper here when I was drawing, so you can see some of the marker on it. So it's good to have something like that. That way, if you're making a mess like Miss Chapple just did, you're not getting it on the table. All right, I want to add eyes. So let's take a look at my googly eyes here. So I use really big ones on this one, but I did make the bee's head smaller. So I don't think I want to use the big ones, no. So I'm going to grab two smaller ones here. And let's have a look to see what it might look like. Oh, that's adorable. All right, so again, I'm going to put just a dab of glue, guys. Dab, 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 make my honeybee look fab. Okay, there's one eye. And here is my next eye. Okay, I'm going to kind of press it down a little bit, just put it in place. So you can see the glue kind of seeps around the eye. So I'm just going to kind of grab my paper towel here and just kind of lightly dab that around. Just so it's not drying with the white visible. Some of it might still be visible, but it's okay. It is okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I need to just leave this alone and let it dry. So in the next part of our video, we're going to go ahead and start adding the streamers or tissue paper in order to put the bottom part of the windmill on it. So I'm going to leave this alone. One thing, if you're adding googly eyes on it, a good rule of thumb is to say the alphabet about 2 to 3 times, and that should be long enough to wait for it to dry. Because googly eyes, if you move them around and mess with them, they're not going to dry. You need to just leave it alone. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave this alone. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of the video, but when I come back, everything will be dry, and we'll add the streamers. See you then. Okay, everybody, now it's time to add the streamers or the tissue paper, depending on what you chose to use. Remember that I chose streamers, so I'm going to go about a foot. You can use a ruler if you want to be really, really sure, but just kind of eyeball it, friends. That's really all I'm doing. I did not use a ruler for my ladybug ones or anything, so I'm just going to kind of grab this and eyeball it and see about how long I want it to be. So I think that's just fine, that length there, so I'm going to cut that. So one thing to think about, if you're using tissue paper, be sure that you are cutting it into long, thin strips. It could be about 2 inches wide, like the streamer is, but it could be even smaller than that. I'm going to use the one that I've already cut to measure out the others. So this is going to be my non-standard unit of measurement. I'm going to line it up here, and I'm going to use it. So that way they're all about the same length. And they don't have to all be the same length, guys. That's just how I want mine to look. If you want yours to have all sorts of different lengths, you go for it. I want you to be as creative as possible. You make it look the way you want it to look. Now, I will say this, if you're using streamers, you're going to need about 4 of them. That's what I used on my ladybug one. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm using 4. So I already have 3 that I cut out. I just need 1 more. Because 3 plus 1 more is 4. So let's go ahead and cut that out. And there we go. All right, I got 4 streamers. Now, I'm going to need to glue them behind my honeybee. So I'm going to kind of place them first to kind of get an idea of how I want it. I think that's good. I think that is good. In other words, you can see all of it. Okay. So just like with everything else, I'm going to put a dab, dab, dab. Dab and dab. Do that for all 4 of these. I'm going to put 2 dabs on each one. 4 groups of 2. What is that, friends? 4 groups of 2. If you're not sure, we can count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8. Were you expecting Miss Chapple to use a little bit of math on you? All right, I'm going to put that right underneath of it. I don't want to glue it on top of it. I want to glue it behind. That's what I'm going to do. I'm putting it behind. Okay. So again, I just need to let it go and let it dry. So I'm going to pause my video for a moment, let it dry. Again, say the alphabet about twice, and that should be long enough. So when you see me come back, we're going to put it together. Okay, so I've let my honeybee dry. Now I'm going to actually turn it into a cylinder. So if you recall from my ladybug, when I put it all together, it was a cylinder. That's what I need to do. Now, be very careful with this because a lot of my friends over the years, when they've made this, have accidentally made it into a teardrop. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about here. We don't want to glue it like this. You glue it like this, that is going to create that teardrop shape. That's not what we want. We actually want to put glue along one edge and then take the other edge and place it on top, just like so. That is what's going to make a cylinder. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to grab my glue again. And again, if you're using glue sticks, it's much easier because you just swipe. So I'm going to dab, dab, dab to make my honeybee look fab. All right, so now that I got my glue on there, I'm going to take the other edge, friends, and place it on top of where I placed my glue. Okay, you're going to want to hold this. If you just do that and let it go, it's going to fall apart. So hold on to it, and I would actually not just press it down tight, I would actually press and pull because that's keeping the entire part of the paper together. And again, wait, say the alphabet about twice, and that should be long enough. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold this, and I'm going to say the alphabet twice. So when you see me back, I'll be ready to put my handle on it. Can't wait. All right, everybody, it's time for our final step of putting the Windsock together. We are going to add the handles. This is where you're going to need your hole puncher, okay? I'm going to want to place a hole on the top of either side of the cylinder. So I'm going to grab my hole puncher. I'm going to move my honeybee to a side there, and I'm going to slide my hole puncher in. It wants to cooperate. There we go. And then press it, and that has created a hole. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So again, I'm going to put it in there, punch it in, and so I now have a hole on either side. You're going to need your ribbon or whatever material that you have decided to use to be your handle. So I'm going to grab my ribbon, and I want it to be long enough so that I can tie it as well as carry it. So that could be good enough. That should be good enough. And if you decide that it ends up being too short, you can always just cut it again, no big deal. All right, there we go. I got my ribbon. All right, so I'm going to put one part of my ribbon through one part of the hole there, and I'm going to need to tie it. Be careful when you are tying it. If you pull too tightly, friends, it's going to rip your paper. So I don't want to do it too tightly. So I'm just going to double tie it, just like so. Okay, I take care of one side. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So put it through the hole that I made. And if you don't have a hole puncher, you could use a pencil and punch through the paper. But please do not do that by yourself. Have an adult. I don't want anyone doing that. So use an adult to do that kind of stuff there if you need to. And I don't want anyone to hurt themselves. That's not what I want at all. Okay, there we go. And all tied up. And you can even add tape in there if you need to add some extra support there. There you go. All right. So friends, there you have it. I have just made a honeybee windsock. The last part of the video, we're going to take this outside and we're going to test it out to see which direction the wind is blowing and how powerful it is. I'll see you there, friends.